should we simply accept our Western perspective on child development? A new nursery in Birmingham is operating very successfully through adopting values associated with Eastern culture. At the 2010 European Early Childhood Education Research Association Conference, ESERA, Dr. Amita Gupta, an associate professor in education from City College, New York, explored the possible benefits of widening our cultural perspectives on how to learn with children and how to use their voice.
There is a tension between knowledge-based and well-being-based cultures. There are practitioners that are compelled to think that the knowledge-based approach is what is needed for children in schools these days. And certainly a lot of policy that's coming down is supporting that argument. But unless a child is happy and has a sense of well-being and is emotionally and socially comfortable, that knowledge is not going to be taken in.
During the early years, we need to experience and receive love and caring within a community setting. And the ideal way of doing that is in an extended family where there's lots of adults around. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen very often. So in the nursery, we want to recreate the extended family. We want to bring in adults who, in front of children, are practicing what they do outside.
Wow. And you've got pictures of your family? Yes.
There's definitely differences in the non-Western cultures in terms of the family being a part of the child's education in a much more organic way. In Asian countries, you may not necessarily see specific focus on socio-emotional development, and you might see a lot of academic, very rigorous academic work, the curriculum. But it's a kind of the hidden curriculum where the well-being is being nurtured. The more we measure outcomes and the more we want to quantify children's learning, the more we begin to overlook the things that cannot be quantified. And that is what happens, sense of happiness and a sense of well-being and a sense of comfort and a sense of peace. These are things you can't quantify. How much math do you know and how much language do you know and how much reading can you do? These are things that you quantify. So if assessment systems begin to expect quantification and numbers and numerical evidence of children's learning, then it's going to push aside the non-tangible aspects of children's learning that we can't measure.
For children to have confidence is an amazing achievement, and we find that when children become independent, they seem to be much happier in themselves and they grow. And I think for a very young age, it's important that children have a go on their own without being instructed and being independent and seeing actually what happens. And through that they realize that they are capable of a lot of things.
And I think maybe some language that we don't use very often in the West could come in terms of the child's inner happiness, the child's inner sense of well-being. We kind of tend to stay away from those kinds of phrases, but if we can use that, it might bring a stronger emphasis on the child's well-being. That's what the child's well-being is. Perhaps it might be more useful that instead of focusing on standardizing teaching strategies, curricular approaches, and assessment systems, we shift our focus more toward the end goal of the child's well-being, acknowledging that children might reach that state of well-being in different ways and through different experiences, depending on the larger cultures that they are living within.